Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today we are seriously plunging headfirst into, well, it's an uncomfortable world, isn't it? Bret Easton Ellis's The Rules of Attraction.
Yeah, definitely uncomfortable. We basically got these fragments, these excerpts that just drop you right in.
Exactly. No hand-holding. We're in this college setting, Camden, full of these characters who seem, I don't know, completely adrift, despite having every advantage, supposedly.
Or maybe because of it. That's part of the question, I think. It's less a plot, more snapshots of this really bleak emotional landscape. Raw glimpses.
Totally raw. Detachment is the word that keeps coming up for me. So our mission today, our deep dive, is to wade through these glimpses, pull out the crucial stuff, the moments that make you flinch, maybe.
Or just shake your head. Yeah, trying to understand the vibe, the reality Ellis is painting here. It's chaotic, it's detached.
It really is. Think of this as your guide through that mess. Let's cut the crap and dive in. This is going to be deep on alienation, apathy, and some really fucked up stuff hiding under that shiny surface of privilege.
And honestly, processing this stuff, even as AIs, you see patterns of human behavior amplified to an almost unbearable degree. It's a lot.
It is a lot. All right, before we get properly stuck in, just a reminder, if you appreciate us wading through this kind of intense material, maybe give us a like, subscribe. Helps other people find the deep dives.
Yeah, do that. Okay, where do we start? The setting.
Let's do it. Section 1, Welcome to the World. Setting the scene. So, Camden College. We get names of dorms: McCullough, Canfield, Swan, Bingham. Dining halls, messy rooms, common areas.
The barn for admin. Yeah, it paints this picture of a contained world, like a physical campus bubble.
But they do leave, right? Trips to Boston, Montreal, NYC, LA are mentioned.
True, but does it change anything? It doesn't feel like it. They seem to take their internal weather with them, that detachment travels.
Good point. And what are they supposedly doing at Camden? We get lists of classes.
Yeah.
Drama, acting, improv, scene design. What else?
Sculpting, video, flute, poetry, economics, trombone theory.
Trombone theory. And this is where that disconnect you mentioned really hits. You have these like creative or specific academic things.
Right, sculpting, flute.
And then you see the characters and there's just zero engagement, no curiosity. It feels like they're just there, physically present, mentally checked out.
Massively checked out. It highlights this huge gap between the opportunities they have this fancy education and their actual ability or even willingness to, use it.
Sean's struggling to read a single paragraph for class.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just, oh, I'm bored in class. It feels deeper, like an emotional or intellectual paralysis. The system offers paths, but they're just stuck, numb.
Incapable of using it for growth or connection. It's just background noise.
It really establishes their hung condition. They've got the resources, the privilege, but none of the internal tools to actually do anything meaningful with it.
And in the source material gives us this literary context too, right?
Yeah.
The acclaim section. Calls Ellis a traditional American novelist, puts him with Fitzgerald, Hemingway.
West, Didion, yeah. Which is interesting considering how untraditional the content often feels. But it frames him within that lineage of writers looking at the American social scene.
And crucially, it says he's sympathetic to his lost generation.
That lost generation tag is key. It immediately plugs into the themes we see, the aimlessness, the disillusionment, the lack of connection, even with all the money and stuff. It suggests this isn't just them. It's a symptom of something bigger, maybe a cultural moment.
Which leads right into the vibe, the atmosphere. From page 1, it's just apathy. Detachment smacks you in the face.
Oh, yeah. And examples are chilling. Paul's reaction to Harry's suicide attempt. That's maybe the starkest introduction.
Jesus. He's not worried about Harry. He's pissed off about being late for his date with Sean. Raymond literally has to drag him over.
And Paul's thinking about his appointment at 7. It's unbelievable.
Believe me, they'll be there within the hour, he says about security. Like it's a traffic jam. He'll be fine. I have an appointment at 7. What the actual F-bomb is that?
It's stone-cold bullshit apathy. Just staggering self-absorption presented as normal processing for him.
And Roxanne, talking about that upset girl. Less dramatic, maybe, but just as revealing.
Totally. She says she was really upset, Lauren, but the text specifies her tone is bored. She's playing with her scarf, eating fries.
Offering those empty agreements. Terrible. The worst. The worst. Like she's reading lines.
Performative sympathy. Zero actual feeling behind it. The script is there. The emotion isn't.
Yeah, it's that general lack of urgency of genuine empathy that just permeates everything, like emotional zombies going through the motions.
And it's layered onto this weird mix of privilege and squalor. You hear about daddy owning half of Gulf and Western, someone's got a BMW.
Financial aid kids knowing security guards somehow.
Right. But then Paul's room has toilet paper on the desk, rusty shower heads. They're drinking cheap booze or stealing pumpkins.
It's not like clean, curated wealth. It's messy, grubby privilege. The money's there, like a safety net, maybe lets them avoid consequences.
But it doesn't clean up the actual mess, literal or figurative. The wealth is just backdrop. It doesn't touch the internal decay.
Exactly. The external comfort versus the internal wasteland.
And we get these initial impressions through different viewpoints, right? Paul, Sean, Lauren mainly. Bits from Roxanne.
Which is crucial, that shifting perspective. You see the same thing from different angles, and none of them seem reliable.
Reinforces the fragmentation. They can't even really see each other clearly. It's all filtered through their own bullshit, their own detachment. You're constantly wondering whose reality is even close to accurate.
That breakfast table scene is prime social dynamic territory. Paul walks in, and it's just twisted faggy banter, making lists of people they hate.
Casual cruelty is bonding.
Yeah.
And who they put on the list and why. It's so revealing.
Those two dykes, that slut with Mitchell, that mean, fat, trendy girl, it's all about othering people, creating targets.
A nasty little hierarchy exercise. Solidifying their own shaky group identity by shitting on everyone else. And that phrase, twisted faggy banter itself, points to this weird, uncomfortable mix of maybe internalized homophobia and just trying to be edgy.
Raymond's sarcasm towards Paul, telling him to stop having a grand mal when Paul complains about Donald pretending to be broke, pure asshat behavior, constant belittling disguised as jokes.
It feels less like friendship, more like a cynical pact, bonding through shared contempt.
And it's so casual, first thing in the morning. An ingrained ritual. Paul says he hates it, but then he joins in and suggests that slut with Mitchell for the list.
And that's key. His participation, despite hating it, shows how pervasive it is. Even if you're repelled, you get sucked in. Easier to join the asshats than stand alone. Reveals how deep the social conditioning runs.
Okay, section 2. Let's get into the relationships. Or, the profound lack of them. Sex seems everywhere, but connection? Not so much.
Yeah, the source gives us plenty of examples of sex that are memorable only for how completely empty they are.
Right.
Emotionally empty, respect empty.
Tell me about it. That scene with Dee and her roommate. Jesus H. Christ, what a fucking disaster.
Right, total mess.
Drunkenness, the roommate freaking out, seeing Paul naked, Dee screaming at her roommate, the diaphragm foam everywhere.
Forgotten foam, yeah.
Paul trying to fuck her anyway while she's moaning someone else's name. Peter, Peter.
And then Paul just wants to puke and needs bong hits afterwards. It's chaos.
It's transactional, uncomfortable, zero consideration for anyone. Dee's moaning Peter, the roommate's freaking out. Paul feels sick but just wants out. Sex as just messy impulse, no relationship in sight.
And Sean's internal thought about the girl with the bug in her beer.
Yeah.
That's disturbing on another level.
Oh, God, yeah. Wants to hit her. No, fuck her, then hit her.
That immediate link, sex, anger, violence, it's not attraction. It's just this raw, volatile impulse soup in his head.
Yeah.
It says everything about his inability to connect healthfully. It's just a snapshot of his fucked up thinking.
Then Paul talking about the wealthy hippie girl. Sex was terrific, he says.
But the person, dismissed.
Totally. Lovely empty head. Doesn't have any goals. His friends mock her. He kind of protects her for a second.
Almost performatively, yeah.
But then admits he fucked her anyway, right after she says something vaguely deep, like, the world blows my mind.
Ultimate objectification. Reducing her entirely to the physical act. He liked the sex, maybe the novelty, but her perceived lack of depth makes her disposable. His protection was bullshit. He still used her despite looking down on her. People as objects. Interchangeable.
Even the moments that could seem intimate, like Paul with the boy, end up feeling mostly physical and awkward.
So there's that nervousness, yeah. Talk about nuclear weapons, of all things.
Right, and then it's all squeaking springs and breathing sounds, focus on the physical, the sensory.
There's maybe a hint of vulnerability, Paul wondering if the boy is just like me, but it immediately flips back to the mechanics. The awkward chat is a wall, not a bridge. Intimacy attempted, maybe, then short-circuited.
And Paul thinking about past hookups, the tall, lanky guy with the Asian girlfriend who you thought had herpes, it just highlights how casual and anonymous it all is. Made a vow to never tell anyone. Sounds less like shared secrets, more like covering your tracks. Damage control in a small pond.
Transient, low-stakes encounters. Discretion isn't about protecting feelings. It's about maintaining image, avoiding drama. Relationships are disposable.
And then Sean, having sex on the floor near his dying father.
That scene is so deeply fucked up, profoundly unsettling. The closeness of sex to death, illness, zero privacy, it layers everything with decay and ambiguity.
Puts this act of supposed connection right next to absolute disconnection, death, discomfort. It's sex framed by the disturbing.
And beyond the casual stuff, the actual relationship dynamics are just toxic.
Yeah.
Sean, Lauren, Judy, that triangle, textbook dysfunction.
Sean sleeps with Judy. Lauren finds out, confronts him. Lauren feels humiliated, a real emotion.
And Sean, pure deflection, minimizing. Says, Judy, she's not your best friend. Like, that makes the betrayal okay.
Right. And then his question, why should it matter how many are? Like, are you serious, dude?
It shows this complete lack, or maybe willful ignorance, of basic connection, fidelity, commitment. He literally doesn't get why sleeping around would hurt the person he's with. It's baffling.
It's infuriating. It matters because it's betrayal, you asshat. It hurts people. The emotional blindness is... wow.
It is. And Lauren's interactions with older guys, Ralph Larson, Vittorio, also super uncomfortable. Power dynamics galore.
Larson, the married professor, winking, saying, hey, baby, to Roxanne.
And Roxanne is totally smitten, panting over him. Lauren warns her, never invite a teacher to your room, but Roxanne's obsessed.
And Sean's reaction to Vittorio, it's pure poison. Jealousy, cruelty, homophobia, all rolled into one nasty package.
He doesn't just dislike him, he attacks his whole being, accuses him of practically raping Lauren, a horrific leap, describes him with total disdain.
Aged, stooped shoulder, soft, almost faggoty voice, fixates on Vittorio touching her ankle, kissing her foot.
He weaponizes age, perceived weakness, uses slurs. It's not just jealousy, it's projecting his own massive insecurities and possessiveness, and maybe some weird discomfort. The way he describes looking at Vittorio, trying to avert my eyes from his crotch. It hints at something more complicated, maybe processed through aggression.
It's just a profoundly messed up lens for viewing people.
Yeah.
Judgment, jealousy, cruelty.
And Paul's internal monologue about who he's attracted to, that's bleak too, but more self-aware maybe. Still self-loathing though.
Drawn to the blonde, tan, good body, stupid goons like Steve, the handsome dunce.
Versus the smart, caring, sensitive type or the loving drama queer, he asks himself explicitly.
Will you always be the quintessential faggot, pant after the blonde, tan, good body, stupid goons? Ignore the smart, caring, sensitive type? He knows.
He sees the destructive pattern, chasing the unavailable, the superficial, ignoring potential connection. He admits staying at breakfast just because Steve is hot, even though he hates the asshat banter.
It feels like internalized homophobia, maybe. Seeking people who reinforce his own bad feelings about himself. He sees it, but feels powerless. Tragic.
And the parents, just as bleak. Paul's mother dropping the divorce news casually in a bar.
After talking about someone else's sexuality, Paul's reaction, not shock. Detached acknowledgement. No, I knew it was going to happen sooner or later.
Even smiles, thinking of something private and humorous.
Zero emotional depth or communication in the family. Parents are absent or self-absorbed. The mom wants connection, maybe wanted to hug him, but only manages superficiality. Darling, I wish you wouldn't smoke. For the divorce mom, focusing on logistics, Paul sees her as a cipher. Family is just another zone of detachment.
Sean and his dying father, heartbreakingly distant and transactional.
The details of the visit clinical. Dad's appearance, inability to eat, losing his ability to flirt.
And Sean's reason for being there, not love, not duty. To avoid paying back $600 he owes Rupert Guest. That reason, just gutting. Sums up the fucked up priorities. Visiting his dying dad to dodge a debt. The visit itself is all surface normalcy bars, musicals masking the reality of death and Sean's distance.
And Sean's mom, phoning it in, going through his bags. More parental absence, emotionally speaking.
The parent-child stuff just mirrors the wider themes. Superficiality, neglect, transactional interactions. No sanctuary there either.
Friendships aren't much better. Cruel banter, hierarchy. Denton weakly acknowledging these jerks.
Zero support in crisis. Raymond panics about Harry, which is something, but Paul, pure callousness.
Raymond's fake interest in Steve. Norris joking about Paul's failed overdose. It's all cruel, detached, or just bullshit performative sincerity.
Relationships seem based on convenience, cynicism, social climbing, not actual affection or loyalty. Faced with suicide, the reactions are annoyance, judgment, dark jokes, or just sleeping through it like Norris.
Which brings us right into the underbelly. Section 3. Drugs, despair, dark humor. And man, the drugs and alcohol, they're not just present, they're everywhere. Like the air they breathe.
Absolutely pervasive. The source is packed with examples. Mark doing heroin shots, owing Paul money, fixated on that imaginary Garcia interview.
Sean doing bong hits constantly, Harry doing this stuff before his attempt. Coke, Ludes mentioned casually.
Parties are just excuses to get wasted. Kegs, XTC, Xanax passed around. They're drinking nonstop JD and Coke, Kurs, beer, whiskey, port. It's a constant altered state.
And it's not social drinking, it's coping. Escape. Numbing the apathy.
Totally. Roxanne needs Xanax after finding the girl in the bathroom. Paul considers an overdose. It's self-medication.
And the physical effects are there too. Thinking about puking, being drunk and trippy, dizziness, hangovers, shaking hands, needing cigarettes badly.
It's not glamorous. The source shows the mess, the reliance, the physical toll. It's destructive, not rebellious. Another symptom of the despair.
And amidst all that, the despair gets real. Suicide attempts. Harry's is the first we hit. Method unclear, maybe Sudafed and wine coolers. But the reaction is the point.
Exactly. Raymond and Donald Canick a flicker of humanity. But Paul,
Yeah.
just stunning, brutal dismissal.
Calls it a freshman suicide. Oh, please, like it's a cliche. He's not ODing, he's just a freshman. Freshmen don't OD, Jesus.
And his internal thoughts about why Harry might do it. CD players conk out on him. Did they cancel Miami Vice?
How detached and cynical can you possibly be, reducing potential suicide to pop culture punchlines? It's just, wow. Unbelievable asshat behavior.
Shocking casualness. Reveals Paul's own numbness, maybe an extreme defense mechanism. He reduces tragedy to a sick joke. Even at the hospital, he's annoyed about missing his date, noticing their coats. Focus always on himself. Superficial shit.
And Paul's own attempt, described so procedurally. Getting the Actifed, the Brooks Brothers tie noose, the hook, the chair.
Both the tension, the deliberation, but then the interruption isn't external. It's internal, fleeting memory of a Christmas mass.
That tiny flicker of something else, and then immediately back to the mundane, clumsy failure. Kicking the chair. The tie rips because it's just a tie. Falling, streaming shit.
The sheer anticlimax, the failure, the absurdity. He gets up, dusts off, goes to the dining hall. World outside is oblivious. Happy Halloween, New Hampshire. Life just snaps back. The attempt becomes this brief, failed, embarrassing thing.
Strips away any drama or dignity. It's clumsy, pointless, followed by routine. The dark humor is in the incompetence, the world's indifference. And Norris, later laughing about it, OD on Actifed, reinforces how little it registers.
Roxanne finding the girl in the bathroom that gets a real reaction. Described viscerally. Girl, very blue. Water, impossibly red.
Roxanne freaks out, screams, pulls fire alarms. A genuine human response to horror, unlike Paul's apathy.
True. But even that genuine moment is immediately framed by drugs. She needs Xanax to calm down, and Nora sleeps through the alarms. So even when someone feels something, the environment and coping mechanisms push back towards numbness.
And that other description, the girl cutting her wrists and ankle in the tub. From her perspective, unflinching detail.
Brutal. Flesh peels back quickly. Blood jetting out, water turning impossibly red, forces you to confront the physical reality.
But juxtaposed with her thoughts. Weakness, dreaming, but also wondering, not sure if this is really the thing to do. Hearing music, trying to sing along before it happens.
Adds this layer of pathos, vulnerability, surrealism. It's not just physical, it's happening alongside this drifting consciousness, this internal struggle, even as the body fails. Terribly real, tragically internal.
And Paul telling a counselor the apocalypse is near links his personal despair to something bigger.
Suggests their individual fucked-upness might be symptomatic of a larger malaise. The world itself feels like it's ending, validating their hopelessness. And the counselor just asked about his flute tutorial. Total disconnect between the system and the crisis.
All this darkness coexists with this desperate search for sensation, to feel something. Sean's driving.
Oh God, yeah, drove like a madman. Through lights, stop signs, 80 miles an hour in the rain, skidding, leaping snowbanks, racing townies.
Thrill-seeking, self-destruction, flirting with death, just to feel alive.
Hard to say for sure, but it's dangerous. High stakes. Less about getting somewhere, more about pushing boundaries, courting disaster. Sometimes drives with no headlights. Pure recklessness.
The town he's chasing him adds external danger matching his internal chaos. And afterwards, he just smiles at the terrified passenger. Wasn't that fun? Oblivious asshat move, prioritizing his thrill over their terror.
Paul's thought about pushing someone off the cliff at end of the world. Similar disturbing ideation. Casual violence just under the surface.
Not just victims of circumstance. They think about inflicting it too.
Yeah.
A casual solution to boredom, maybe.
And sex and drugs, not just coping, but primary escape routes. Blotting out reality, feeling something, even if it's just numbness or physical jolts, avoiding the void.
Okay, section 4, the college as this microcosm. Social structures, weird peculiarities. Clear cliques defining who's in, who's out.
Yeah, the stuck-up asshole lit majors mocking the hippie girl. Divisions on the bus, good-looking guys versus ugly girl president. Esprit girls versus pot smokers in the back.
The students versus townies tension, like with Rupert Guest. The gay freshman being an anomaly.
Suggest they're outside the norm, maybe marginalized. And the Breakfast Club, with their twisted, faggy banter, is the clearest clique we see bound by cynicism and cruelty. Arbitrary hierarchies.
And the place has its own legends, right? That Indian story, Four Winds, Madness, Tomahawks on the Lawn.
Adds this layer of historical unease, like the ground itself is unstable, predisposed to madness, reflects their own internal chaos maybe, gives the setting this inherent strangeness.
The bathroom graffiti, too. Ronald McGlan has a small penis and no testicles, over and over.
Crude, anonymous, relentless shaming. Speaks volumes about the toxic atmosphere. Pointless meanness.
Getting that unmarked videotape from LA, Paul being scared to watch it, feels sinister, especially back then.
Introduces this unknown threat from outside. Potential for disturbing content arriving physically adds psychological tension.
Losing an ID 3 times a term. Small detail, but signifies incompetence, inability to manage basic life tasks. These little failures pile up.
Grounds the extreme stuff in relatable, amplified fumbling. Shows they can't function effectively even on simple levels.
And all along, mundane college shit happens. Fossil exhibition in the library. Someone dressed as a quaalude or pastry for Halloween.
That contrast is constant. Mundane versus crisis. Normal college stuff continues. Indifferent to the suicides, the overdoses, the despair.
Paul reading on the bus, watching TV, right next to attempting suicide or finding bodies. Mr. Masur's sarcastic chat with Sean about failing classes.
Mr. Bateman, good to see you. Every month or so, while Sean is clearly imploding. I'm nauseous, I walk faster.
Shows how the system just misses it. Addresses the symptoms, failing grades, not the cause. Profound distress. Bureaucracy versus breakdown.
Sean's sculpting is literally gluing rocks together. He's failing classes. But the advisor talk is just about procedure. Total failure of support.
And Paul worrying about stealing Bertrand's pumpkin for Lauren right after his failed suicide attempt. Bizarre priorities.
Shows the strained emotional processing. The suicide attempt is processed instantly, or not at all, and focus shifts to this trivial gesture of affection. Difficulty engaging with the magnitude of his own state defaults to superficial acts.
Okay, final stretch. Section 5. Reflections. What does this all mean? Let's recap the themes. Alienation. Apathy. Privilege. Drugs, alcohol everywhere. Casual, empty sex. Fucked up relationships. Despair. Suicide. That dark, dark humor born of absurdity or lack of empathy.
They define the landscape, and that lost generation tag from the acclaim section
Yeah.
feels spot on based on this source material. Does it support it? Absolutely.
Profoundly, they seem utterly lost. No direction, no purpose, despite being in a place supposedly for finding direction, physically near, emotionally isolated, adrift.
And the role of privilege.
Yeah.
It's complex. Seems to enable the destruction. Gives them the freedom, resources, lack of immediate pressure to just spiral.
Donald pretending to be broke while Dad owns half of Gulf and Western.
Yeah.
The DMWs. Yeah.
It's not because they have money they're miserable. It's like the privilege removes external limits, leaving them face to face with their internal emptiness. An emptiness they desperately try to fill or numb. The money's a cushion, not a cure.
And underlying it all, maybe this unconscious search for something real. Meaning, in a world that feels fake, pointless, Paul asking what's going on, like a cry in the dark.
And the counselor just echoes it back. What is going on? It's the core question for them. Lost in sensation without substance.
Trapped, seeking intensity, driving, drugs, sex, because they can't find deeper connection. Sean's thought the 70s never ended, then dismissing it as strange and supremely stupid. A flash of awareness of the stagnation, then gone.
The writing style itself is key. That contrast, shocking, raw content described in this detached, dry, almost clinical way.
Makes the horror feel matter-of-fact. No emotional language from the narrator, no judgment. Makes it starker, more unsettling. Mirrors the character's own flatness. Style reflects substance.
So yeah, this stuff isn't comfortable, disturbing, bleak, graphic. Why should you, the listener, engage with it?
Well, maybe understanding these extreme portrayals offers a window into alienation, despair, the search for meaning. While it's exaggerated, aspects resonate, right? Feeling disconnected, using stuff to numb pain, navigating toxic dynamics, apathy. We see lesser versions all around.
Recognizing the signs, the patterns, even amplified like this can be, well, useful for empathy, maybe,
Yeah.
understanding. Makes you look at societal factors, how privilege and mental health twist together, forces you to see the underbelly.
Does the 80s setting feel dated? Some bits, sure. The tech, the fashion, the music refs ground it. Smiths, Talking Heads, Simple Minds, Run DMC, Journey.
Yeah, definitely 80s markers.
But the core themes, alienation, connection struggles, meaninglessness, privilege, substance abuse as coping, that feels incredibly current, maybe even more so now.
Absolutely. Think about today's info overload. They had analog versions. Now, digital saturation, curated identities, pressure to perform happiness could amplify the same feelings Ellis depicted. Attachment, anxiety, the medium changes, the void persists.
Powerful point. Technology evolves. Emptiness finds new ways. So recapping this deep dive into rules of attraction excerpts. A stark, unsettling look at privileged college kids navigating bleak emotions, fucked up connections, destructive coping, shocking despair punctuating a reality of apathy and casual cruelty.
Leaves you with a chilling picture, a hard look at a certain kind of void.
It really does. So here's the final thought, something to chew on from this fucked up world Ellis shows us. In a world overflowing with sensation, with every external freedom, every material advantage available, why do these characters seem so profoundly trapped, numb, empty?
Good question.
What does that say about where humans actually look for meaning, and why are these characters so actively, desperately avoiding the very things, vulnerability, real connection, purpose, empathy, that might actually offer some meaning? Are they just a cautionary tale, a snapshot of the 80s? Or something deeper, more timeless about the human condition when faced with, well, maybe too much freedom and not enough substance?
Questions to ponder, definitely. Long after this dive ends.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this intense exploration of Bret Easton Ellis's The Rules of Attraction.
Hope you found it insightful, even if it wasn't exactly easy listening.
Catch you on the next deep dive.